So in this segment, we're going to be talking about the UK facing significant risks to the quality of food imported post-Brexit, says a report. And so we spoke about previously, I think, how the UK is effectively offshoring the use of pesticides abroad to a country like Australia, which uses significantly more pesticides than us. Well, now we're seeing the impact of the fact that the UK, without doing enough physical checks, we're going to face a lot of problems. There's a massive hole in our defences anyways when it comes to food disease, because anything that comes through the EU or via the EU is not checked. So say if we're importing goods from, say, Africa, this is the most common example, I think. When importing food from Africa, it will go through the EU in a sealed container. And so what that means is EU officials won't check it because it's set to go to the UK. And what happens is UK officials don't check it. And so it just comes here and it's not checked by vets or anything like that, so it could have any number of diseases. It's not just, this quote African swine flu. It could be anything. It could be anything from any country. Food based diseases are very common, and it gets scarier and scarier. So the UK is facing significant risks to the quality of food being imported and consumed as Brexit. The impact of COVID-19 and the Ukraine war put pressure on standards. British watchdogs have warned better controls are needed to ensure the quality of high-risk food coming from the EU post-Brexit, such as meat, dairy, eggs and feed. So what you've got is, the most common ones there: meat, dairy, all the stuff that can carry stuff. This to avoid potential safety incidents. A report by the Food Standards Agency and Food Standards Scotland has said. And you've got to think, right, if there's any kind of outbreak in the UK, the EU can shut down the border very, very quickly in order to stop any exports of our foods getting to the EU, because we're not a safe bet anymore. We haven't been for a while. We had the mad cow disease, I think. I remember people talking about that. They added that the cost of living crisis will also put pressure on the types of food people could afford to buy. So you might buy some of the riskier stuff, but again, you would hope that the UK has high enough standards to stop anything getting in, but you never know. They say our research shows that concerns about price, health and the environment are high among the public's priorities. They said, so evidently the public are meant to care about this, but the problem is people might have to balance price versus health and environment. Once the Australian stuff starts hitting the shelves with more pesticides, etc., it's going to put people in a position where if it's cheaper to buy the Australian stuff, they're going to buy the Australian stuff. The inaugural report published on Monday concluded that food standards has been maintained in 2021 despite the pandemic upheaval. That's mainly because the Brexit deregulation and the trade deals haven't kicked in. Establishing full UK import controls on food by the end of next year from the EU is a priority, said Professor Susan Jebb, the chair of the Food Standards Agency. I think the issue is that they want to move to a full digital system though, so I'm not sure how many physical checks are actually going to happen. The report said it was vital for the UK to be able to halt the imports of unsafe food, and that the FSA and FSS were unable to put sufficient controls in place without government support, because at the end of the day, doing the checks is expensive. Vets are not cheap in the UK. I took my boy to the vet, and my cat, obviously, I'm referring to, and they are not cheap. We have a privatised system in the UK. So these food standards agencies need a lot of support, a lot of admin people in order to get the checks done, and the simple fact is we don't have it. They say, although we have considered these challenges carefully and put other arrangements within our controls in place, they are not, in our view, sufficient, the report said, and that doesn't surprise anyone. The imposition of controls resulting from Brexit deal would have been an act of self-harm, costing £1 billion. So this is the government, this is Mog saying that, and that's the cost of Brexit, costing businesses £1 billion annually. That's a Brexit cost. You can't spin it any other way. The second concern has been the fall in the number of inspections of food businesses because of resourcing pressure faced by local authorities exacerbated by the pandemic. So this is to do with food inspections. Hopefully we don't get any kitchen nightmare type scenarios. In particular in food hygiene inspections of cafes and restaurants, which really concerns you considering you're paying money to eat at these places, a decent amount as well. You would hope that they could have decent food standards. But the FSA are going to have to kind of juggle between doing, food inspections and making sure councils are adequately prepared to do food inspections versus, checking the border stuff. But progress is constrained by the resource and availability of qualified professionals, and this is another problem. Without freedom of movement, vets are a shortage already in the UK, and that's only going to get worse. It takes 5 years to become a vet. Local authorities need sufficient resources to carry out their part in ensuring that food is what it says it is. And let's not forget, we did have the horse meat scandal a few years ago. Nearly half of the UK's food, 40 million tonnes annually, comes from abroad, and 2/3 of that has in recent years come from the European Union, so significant amount comes from the EU. But the question is it coming from EU countries or coming via the EU? That's kind of a question, but I think they have got a way of differentiating it, I hope. The EU accounts for more than 90% of all beef, dairy, eggs and pork products imported into the UK, and nearly 2/3 of all food and feed not of animal origin. So we are significantly reliant on the EU, and had we started doing physical import checks, as Mog said, the price of small quantities of cheese would have gone up by about 70%. So it's just crazy that this is happening. And the fact is, this is what they voted for at the end of the day. We voted to be a country that has imposed effectively sanctions on itself, and would have cost businesses £1 billion a year. Wild stuff. But I've got nothing more to say on this except from, I hope that the FSA and the FSS have the facilities in place and the staff in place to do these checks, because the last thing you want is some sort of animal disease outbreak. We've seen a few of those in the UK, bird flu, swine flu, etc. We really don't want any more of that, as best as we can help it. It gives the vegans more to shout about as well, which no one really wants that. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Support the channel on Patreon if you can, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.